Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is AJ Valverde. I'm the communications manager with the Holy Cross Institute. This is a really special afternoon for me as we've been preparing for a couple of months with the art exhibit, and I thought this would be a really great opportunity for our brothers to join us on campus and really enjoy each other's company here with a short discussion and then heading over to the Monday library for a reception where we have some really great treats for you all. I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Clark to give an introduction and then a prayer by Father Peter.
Fantastic. Thank you, AJ. And AJ, thank you for all the work you've done to make this possible. Can we give AJ a big round of applause? Thank you. And we're going to begin in prayer as we do all things, and then I'll offer a couple of words of welcome. Okay, so Father Peter.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Our own Saint Brother Andre once said or wrote, "It is with the smallest brushes that the artist paints the most exquisitely beautiful pictures." I don't know what he thought about more contemporary versions of art. I'm thinking specifically about Brother Carl Teet and what he made with not small brushes at all. But I think whether he would be a fan of what's happening or not on some of what's on display here, I think we can agree that his point is true, that it is often in small gestures and humble people that beauty is shown forth. So let us pray. Oh God, even in your own creation, you dug your hands into the dirt and created the beautiful. To care for Jesus, you chose a carpenter, a master craftsman who shared his skill with your son. Joseph, the craftsman worker, inspired these brothers to try their hand, perfect their skill, share their vision. As we plunge into their work today, give us inspiration to see the world in all its complexity and beauty. We ask this through your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Father Peter. Again, welcome everyone to this very special gathering. And I bring greetings on behalf of University President Dr. Montserrat Fuentes. She's not able to join us here today, but she does send her greetings. And we're very grateful to Monsi's commitment to the brothers and to the legacy of the brothers. This is one demonstration of that commitment. And I think Hollis will tell you a little bit more about how Dr. Fuentes commissioned this project to happen. So just very quickly, as I reflect myself about the brothers, I think back to my days as a student at Bishop McNamara High School in the former Eastern Province of Brothers in Forestville, Maryland, outside of Washington, D.C. And there's so many stories that I could tell you about the brothers there, Brother Walter Kramer and Brother Paul Benarczyk and Brother Tom Durney, Brother Tom Sawyer, Brother Peter Vukmanik, so many others who had significant impact on my own life. But two things that struck me the most about the brothers is that whatever was needed, they responded and did. Whether it was cutting the grass or watering the flowers or cleaning up a mess in the men's room or helping out after school or chaperoning dances or taking tickets at the ball games, you name it, they did it. In addition to teaching algebra and physics and English and serving as counselors and administrators. There was never a job too small. And they did it always, number two, with humility. So much giftedness there as well, the giftedness in their art. I think that part of what really shaped me in my own formation as a young person at Bishop McNamara, and then later when I returned to Bishop McNamara as principal and president for the 23 years I was there, is that there was a personal witness from the brothers, a witness of joy, a witness of humility, a witness of community. And that really made a big impact on me. And, fast forward all these years later that I have the great honor today to serve in this role as executive director of the Holy Cross Institute. And I reflect on the witness And as I go from school to school across the country, I ask the question, who here worked with the brothers? Who here attended school when the brothers were here? And so usually a handful of people in the crowd among the faculty and staff will raise their hands. And I'll say, tell us your memories of the brothers. Let us hear you tell some stories. What words would you use to describe them? And it all comes down to their witness that we continue the legacy of today. And I often will refer to this as the principle of sacramentality. What the brothers did for me is they made the invisible God visible. Isn't that what the principle of sacramentality is all about, is making the invisible God visible? And in this display that we're going to learn more about today, we see that invisible God made visible through the beauty of art. And this would not have been possible at all if it had not been for our colleague here at St. Edward's University, Hollis Hammonds. So I'm going to invite Hollis here to say a few words, to share the story about how this exhibit occurred. And I would ask you to please join me in congratulating and thanking Hollis for making the invisible God visible through the beauty of the art displayed, created by the brothers as part of this exhibit. So thank you, Hollis.
Thanks so much. And I'm going to go back a few slides here. I just wanted to, well, thank you, Marco, and also AJ for all the work that you've done, and the Holy Cross Institute for supporting this exhibition. It's been a huge team effort. It did start with Casey Gibbs in the library and asking, hey, I just happened to walk into the library, which I do often. And he was like, hey, we're having a meeting today with Brother Richard, and we're going to talk about doing an exhibit of the Holy Cross Brothers in the library. And I was like, oh, well, I should be there. So I inserted myself into the process. So the brainchild of it was actually Dr. Fuentes and Casey, and of course, Brother Richard Kritz, who has managed the art collection of the Brothers of Holy Cross here at St. Edward's University. And it was a joy to work with Brother Richard as well. His wealth of knowledge, his organization. He had sent us, I think, over 100 works that we actually looked at. And we pared it down to this small group of about 30 pieces. And we did want to represent all of the brothers on the list in some way. So all of the brothers that have been active at St. Ed's and have contributed their work are represented in this exhibition. And some of them do have more works. So you'll see that there are some artists in the show that have, really devoted their retired years or a major part of their life to making art, like really calling them artists. And so but there are also these works that are more not naive, because they're all so interesting, but there's a wide range of types of approaches to the image making that you'll see in the exhibition. And all of it is very beautiful, from things that are craft oriented all the way up to what I would consider high art. Like when we think of like oil painting, for instance, or sculpture, they have that same quality that you would see in a museum. So it's been a pleasure for me. I wanted to make sure that I thanked all the people that helped organize. Many people in my department, which is, if you don't know, I'm the chair of the Department of Visual Studies. And actually, Brother Hilarion started the art program with Professor Wally Connolly. Many of you knew Wally Connolly, and I just want to mention that his memorial is on Saturday at the chapel, if anyone's available, from noon to 1. But the two of them, really started the art program. And the only reason I have a job here is because of the work that they had done. When I came to St. Ed's, I have another great slide. Oh, wrong way. So I'm from the Midwest, from Cincinnati, and I came to Texas. I was very traumatized by the Texas heat. And my first summer, I would go to the pool every afternoon because I was so just exhausted because it was so hot. It was 2007, and I just couldn't imagine how I was going to survive living in Texas. But I learned from Wally Connolly that Brother Donard taught swimming lessons. And although I would like going to the pool, I actually had no idea how to swim. So coming from Cincinnati, it just wasn't part of my childhood. So I spent several weeks in 2008 with Brother Donard as he taught me very patiently, an adult woman, how to swim. And so that was very special to me. And I wanted to share this work that's also in the show, that his, appreciation for life and nature, you can kind of see in this panoramic image of the hill country. The other connection I wanted to share for this exhibit was this work, which we're going to hear actually more about Brother Jeremiah from John Cobb, who's an artist in the exhibit, and he's also an alumni of St. Ed's. Brother Jeremiah was known for his kind of primitive style, his abstraction, and someone gifted me this painting a few years ago. I had no idea who Brother Jeremiah was at the time, but I have done research since then and realized that there's a whole series of these amazing main building on fire paintings. So, it's not the classic, beautiful painting that we think of, but it captures the history and the importance of this event, which happened in 1903. So I wanted to share that. And then I also just wanted to say a little bit about, I'm going the wrong way again, about the exhibition and the team. Alex Robinson, who is the director of exhibits, helped co-curate the show. Maggie Bond, who is the programming director at the library, spent hours working on researching the brothers and creating a text that then Jimmy Liu, his graphic designer, and his student designed booklets that you'll be able to get at the exhibit, and postcards and other information. The whole thing has just been a terrific team effort. What a wonderful project. And I hope that you all enjoy seeing the exhibit when we walk over. Thanks. I'm going to pass it off here.
I'm Brother Bill Nick. I am the community director at Brother Vincent Pio Residence, which is the retirement and assisted living center on the east side of the campus. And I have the privilege of sharing just a few thoughts about three great artists, brother artists. That's Brother Edwin Reggio, Brother James Kane, and Brother Reginald Jocks. First, Brother Edwin Reggio. Brother Edwin was born in 1933 and passed away in 2013. He spent 40 years of ministry on the hilltop as a teacher and administrator. His two sculptures, wood carvings, is what I want to speak on. One is called Yagpanka, Hopi Wind God, and the other was the face of Christ, I Thirst. What's interesting is Brother Edwin created the face of Christ in 1956 and the Hopi Wind God in 2003. So it's, it's a great example of his lifetime commitment to the art of wood sculpturing. He created really scores of wood sculptures throughout his lifetime, and he gave many of them away. First of all, to his beloved Holy Cross community, but also to his family in New Orleans and to his many friends here and elsewhere. The wood for these two exhibits are actually pine. And of course, that's a soft wood, but Edwin had great technique for staining and weatherproofing his sculptures. And so, they last a long time. His brother Don lives in Louisiana and actually had these two sculptures in his collection from his brother. And he donated them to us at Brother Vincent Pio. And Don himself is an artist. I asked Edwin once, how does he select his wood for his creations? And he said it varies. Sometimes he sees the wood and that prompts the creation. Sometimes he has the vision in his mind and he looks for the appropriate wood. So, but I was always just very intrigued on, his selection of wood. And there are some other great pieces that we have. One is a large stump that he sculptured into the head of Christ. And so it's not on exhibit, but I think that's one of his finest works. So Edwin had many talents. Besides sculpturing, he was also an artist in music. As it was announced at the inauguration or in the program, he created, the words and also composed the music for the alma mater for St. Edward's University. He was a man with many talents and he was super organized. And that's probably one thing I remember the most about him. And nothing got by Edwin if it wasn't organized. So Brother James Kane, we have his basswood relief carving of Brother Vincent Pio. His subject, Brother Vincent Pio, was one of the early pioneers of Holy Cross, joining the Brothers of St. Joseph in 1822. And he was a member of the group of 6 brothers and 1 priest that our founder, Blessed Basil Moreau, sent to America as missionaries from France in 1840 to establish Holy Cross in America. I asked Brother James why he selected this wood, and he said because the wood was available to him. Actually, it was a piece of basswood just lying around in his workshop. And so, but the other aspect is basswood is very soft and easy to work with. Brother James lives in retirement with the Brothers community on the campus of the University of Notre Dame, and he continues to enjoy drawing, painting, and sculpturing in his retirement. Finally, Brother Reginald Jocks. We live with Brother Reginald. He's still very much alive at age 94. And so he created these 2 stained glass works of St. Joseph the Worker and St. Brother Andre. And he basically got his inspiration from some photos and special cards of pictures of St. Andre and one special card for St. Joseph the Worker. And so what I found amazing about Brother's glass work, and by the way, he's been working with stained glass for really a long time, and considered as one of his major hobbies. But I think he's a great artist in his stained glass. He basically not only cut his own glass, shop for it, cut it, and designed the layout, but also he manufactured his own binding and framing for these works. So he is a master craftsman. That's one of the great talents that Reginald has. Originally, these two works of art hung at the entry of St. Joseph's Hall here on campus. But when we left the building, we moved the artwork to Brother Vincent Pio, and they adorn the side glass panels of our entryway. So we're very pleased to have those at Brother Vincent Pio. Brother Reginald, besides being a gifted artist, he has spent his entire ministerial life as a brother of Holy Cross, as a master craftsman, supporting Holy Cross institutions, including St. Edward's University. In fact, as I walk around the campus, I can still see examples of his craftsmanship on the campus. So one last thing about Brother Reginald is, besides being a master craftsman, he is also a master gardener. That's another great hobby that he has. And so when we lived at St. Joseph's Hall, the flower gardens were his creation. And so it was always a joy to see what was going to grow in his flower gardens. And if you come to Vincent Pio today, up on the hill in front of the statue of St. Joseph and the Blessed Mother, and there's a flower garden there created by, with a rock wall, created by Brother Reginald. So anyway, at 94, he just felt that it'd be a little too much to come over here today. But he is still very nimble and very creative. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I met Brother Jeremiah, and he and I would work together, and it's one of the most beautiful things about the entire university is that you can work very closely with someone, and over time you develop a real understanding for the other person. And it's kind of like a two-way street. And the thing that I learned from Brother Jeremiah was a sense of patience. And it wasn't the ordinary sense of patience. I mean, it's one thing to paint every leaf on every tree or every brick or every bush, but it's another thing to learn how to be patient with yourself. And that was the thing that I learned from him. And that kind of patience is the kind of patience that's the first stepping stone to begin to love yourself again. And so I had had some troubled times. I lived on an island, and I was a sort of woebegone person. But when I came to St. Edward's, I found these spiritual roots, and I latched myself on, and I managed to recoup my life here. And Wally was there, and Brother Jeremiah's, and there was also someone else whose name was Brother Nevin. Do you remember Brother Nevin? Mm-hmm. I used to see Brother Nevin walking down the streets here on campus, picking up trash in his tattered shoes and his clear glasses and his rosy complexion. And I thought to myself, you know, that person has more authority than the devil. I just knew it. So I asked him, I said, Brother Nevin, let me do your portrait. And he was so opposed. He abhorred it. Every photograph you see of Brother Nevin, he has this dour, ugly face. And it has nothing to do with that rosy complexion and those clear glasses and that constitution that must have come from some wilderness somewhere. And I thought, okay, I won't do it. I'm not going to bother you about it again. We're just going to do something else. So Brother Nevin died. And I said, now's the time to do it. So I took my camera and I attended the services and I took photographs of everything. I included all the brothers. That's the picture that I did. You can see Brother Andrew there, the lighthouse man, the tallest and the finest. And there's Brother James right in the middle there, Father James, I'm sorry. And all of the brothers were there. And then we assembled around Brother John Juno, who was the Christ on the cross there. And then there was this guy from Corpus who was the good thief that I put in there. His name was Matt. And we hung him up there. We told him, Matt, you just hold on to the hand grips. And we kicked the stool out from under him. And we let him struggle until it looked like it was real. And we put him in there too. So it was a big combination of things. And it wasn't about one person. It wasn't just about Brother Nevin. It was about the community, the togetherness and the spirit and the drive and the moral value of it. You just don't know what that's like until you don't have it. So, Brother Jeremiah and I did all his framing for him, and we had art shows at the Yard Dog, and that's one of his pictures of Mount Tabor. You know, it's strange. The guy is just as good as Grandma Moses. There's only one thing that he added, and that is a sense of tragedy. Because you can't imagine a Grandma Moses painting with something wrong going on. And yet that clash of tragedy and beauty and fastidiousness was there in his work. It's very excellent work. And we had a great time working in the shop together. That was the mural we did together. I said, Brother Jeremiah, this is what we got to do. The Lord is going to come back. We know that. So on what day of the week is he going to come back? And because, you know, he used to sketch the sky. You would go through his sketchbooks, and at 1:33 in the afternoon, these were the clouds. And it was almost like a scientific observatory, you know. So I said, well, brother, let's choose a day and make 7 paintings, one for each day. And on one of those days, the Lord returns. So we started out, it was a big job, and we only ended up doing 3 of them. And then we set it up on Ben White Boulevard. The thing was 16 feet long. And it's so great to pair a massive work like that with somebody so small and humble. I just loved it. And, you know, it was up there until finally people began to post political signs over it. I said, that's the last straw, that we're not going to do that. The brothers and I, we went out there and we took the whole thing down. And I took the paintings and we made a stage at my house. So the backdrop of the stage is this mural here. And we had a great time doing it. Thank you. Thank you, all you brothers and fathers. It means so much to us.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. I've been asked to talk about two of the pieces. This one is by Brother Robert Weinman, a very dear and close friend of mine who passed away this summer. And he has several pieces in the show, which you will see. Bobby, as we said at his funeral, his name wasn't Robert, it was Bobby. Worked from photographs that he took. And you will see a lot of his other works in the show. A lot of his works look very like icons, and he uses native children in the paintings. He spent 40 years plus in Brazil. So most of his works have a religious tone to them. Bobby is one of the few brothers in this show that actually has some training in art. He studied art both here in the United States when he was working in California in a boys' home, and then when he went to Brazil, he actually got a degree in art down there in a Brazilian university. Only later in his life did he get the title artist in residence. He spent time in schools and especially established a ministry for street kids outside of Campinas, Brazil, where we have a high school, Notre Dame. And all of the income from his paintings went to support Sequoia. It was named after Saint Brother Andre. This painting came about because he was living, when he was still in Brazil, he was staying for a while at St. Joe Hall on campus. And he was a great lover of, as I said, photographing flowers. And he realized that yucca plant down at the entrance on St. Edward's Drive was blooming like it doesn't bloom very often. And so he wasn't very mobile by that time. So I took him down there and he took a photograph of it. And then he went back to Brazil and painted this painting from that photograph. And then he sent it to me as a gift. And Brother Donald, who was here, and I went out and had it framed in North Austin somewhere. It usually hangs in the rec room at our residence, the Province Center over on St. Edward's Drive. This is an interesting work. This is one of probably, according, I think, 3 works in the show that is probably the only piece that the brother did. This was done by a brother named Campion Nolan, and it's autographed Camp. That's what everybody called him, Camp. He had a number of non-teaching positions in the community, many, many years here at St. Edward's University. He drew this and gave it to a mutual friend of ours. She became a mutual friend. He gave it to a woman named Ruth Kyle, whose brother was in the community, Brother Mel Kyle, served many years on this campus as principal of St. Edward's High School and also teaching chemistry. He did that at the same time, by the way. He was teaching in the college and in the university and also being the principal of the high school. So he gave this drawing to Ruth Kyle, and Ruth and I became friends because she used to come and visit her brother, who is a very interesting brother of Holy Cross. And towards the end of her life, she sent it to me and said, you probably would like to have this, which I was delighted to get it. And she said that Brother Campion told her that this was a drawing of the oldest building on the St. Edward's campus. Now, I think I'm quite sure 99% sure. This is the Doyle farmhouse that was located over across I-35 on the property where the federal buildings are, the IRS. That was all part, that's where the Doyle farm was, on the other side of I-35. So a little bit of it on this side, the cemetery there on Woodward and I-35, but most of the farm was on the other side. This property where the campus is was purchased by Father Soren from Colonel Robards. So I think that is the Doyle farmhouse. And it's the first, it is actually where the university began, because the brothers came down, took the farm, started working the farm as an agricultural enterprise, but then began bringing in boys from the area to teach them. And so the first classes of St. Edward's University were held in that building. It was called St. Aloysius Academy. It wasn't originally called it wasn't named St. Edward's until many years later. Not by Father Soren, by the way, but by Father Spiller, who was the superior of all the Holy Cross men religious in Austin, also pastor of St. Mary's Parish. He named it after Father Soren. It'd be interesting to know why Father Spiller did that. I've seen that building, and Bill Nick, when it was still standing, sort of, when I came here as a student in 1958. We used to walk from the campus where we lived on the site of St. Andre Apartments now, over to the Doyle farmhouse. There was no I-35. There was all the property contiguous was St. Ed's property, and we saw it. It was eventually taken down, but this was the original building of St. Edward's. There is some lore that it was moved over on campus and became the first administration building. I have a picture with me that shows a building looking a little bit like this behind the main building, and saying it was the first administration building of St. Edward's. But if you look closely, it doesn't look anything like this building. So that was Campion Nolan's contribution to the show.
It's coming back to me. What time is it? So we still have time. I wonder if there are any questions, or if our speakers have any questions for each other or the audience. Everyone's really shy. I do want to say that, I mean, I'm sure most of you have already seen the exhibit, but if you haven't, you'll be happily surprised. There's all types of work, handwork, needlework, oil painting, acrylic painting, ink drawings, ink with watercolor and pencil. There's pretty much any material you can think of. There's plastic, like polyurethane sculpture. There's some, like, Brother Tite. There's some really interesting, innovative things that you'll see. And the other great thing that I love about the exhibit is that it spans many, many decades. So you'll also see kind of stylistic things when you're thinking about like the time frame, like the Stations of the Cross, for instance, that are installed permanently at the Provincial Center, that they're beautiful. The image in the show doesn't actually capture how amazing they are, but the design of those, thinking about like the Bauhaus of the 1950s and 60s, like you can really see the influence of design in that work. So Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that, like, it's so great to see the diversity of the material. And also, one thing is subject matter, like you're getting a taste of it here. Um, there's a lot of images of nature. There's a lot of religious icons. I think there's just a lot of contemplation that you see in the work. And so this idea of making the invisible visible, I think if you go with that theme, when you go to look at the exhibit, you can start to uncover like what each brother was trying to reveal through their artistic practice that reflects like their life and their beliefs and the work that they were doing already, which is really special.
Thank you. Can we give another round of applause to Hollis and John and Brother Bill Nick and Brother Richard Daly? Thank you for sharing these remarkable stories. And we also are pleased to let you know that tomorrow we'll be hosting 115 sophomores from St. Michael's Academy here on campus. And part of their day will be spent in a walking pilgrimage on the sacred spaces here on campus. And included will be a stop to see the brothers exhibit in the Monday Library. And at each of those stops, they're going to learn a little bit more about the space, the grotto, Soren Oak, the Brothers Garden, of course, Brother Stephen Walsh Garden as well, and then the brothers exhibit. And it's the story of the brothers. Again, to the credit of Dr. Fuentes, to St. Edward's University. Last year, when we celebrated the 200th anniversary of the Brothers of St. Joseph, who we know today as the Brothers of Holy Cross, Brother Tom Zekin, our provincial superior, shared with us that at one point there were close to a couple hundred brothers who lived and worked on this campus. And I think it behooves all of us to make sure that the legacy of the brothers always remains as a part of the history, the present, and the future of St. Edward's University. And so thank you all again for joining us this evening. And we're going to make our way over to the Monday Library and enjoy the beauty of art together. So thank you all, and may God bless you. Thank you.